Hello, good evening. Welcome to this week's episode of the Author Collaborative. Once again, I will be talking to an author whose book I have recently read and enjoyed. And this time, for the second time, I have an author whose book was my one of my favorite reads for 2023. We are going to talk about his book, The 5 Day Plan, and I'm waiting for him to join so we can begin. His name is Ashish Rastogi, and we are going to talk about his book, The 5 Day Plan, which I really enjoyed. It's an LGBTQ romance, romance, and it was a really fun read. So, without further ado, let me invite him, and we can begin today's episode. Hi, Ashish. I have sent you the request. Are you able to accept it? I think he is not able to accept the request. Let's wait for a few more minutes. I will try sending you a fresh invitation. Hold on. Okay, I've sent you a fresh invitation. See if you can accept that, Ashish. As always, Instagram is being annoying with me, not allowing me to start this live. I'm waiting for today's guest to join me. We are unable to start because of the usual glitches with Instagram. Hi, Tanvi. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. My guest is unable to accept. I'm waiting for him to rejoin so we can begin. I'm going to be talking to Ashish Rastogi, whose book, The 5 Day Plan, it's an romance, and I really enjoyed reading it. It was my top romance reads of 2023, and I'm really excited to talk to him. Yeah, Ashish, I have sent you another invitation. See if you can accept that.
Hi,
Hi, welcome to the Author Collaborative.
thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. Nice to be talking to you.
Same here, and I was just mentioning that your book, The 5 Day Plan, it was my one of my top romance reads of 2023. It was such a wonderful read, and uh, especially because in this genre LGBTQ, I have read only teen romance, and it was very refreshing to read an adult romance in the genre. And you have done a very good job. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Before we go on into the details of the book and your writing, would you like to tell the audience about yourself first?
Yeah, sure. So, Manali, I am a doctor by profession, medical doctor, and currently, as far as my work life is concerned, I am into medical research. But I've always been a writer. Initially, shorts, stories, paragraphs, poems, and then sometime in 2018, the writing bug bit me, and I said, okay, let's try start writing a story. It became a paragraph, then a chapter, and then into a whole novel. And since then, I've written 4 books. This 5 Day Plan is my fourth book, and there are another two or three that are in line. So let's see how this journey goes.
Wonderful. Okay, so wow, a doctor and an author. That's something to get inspired from. So whoever is listening, if you're using your full-time job as an excuse, here is an inspiration for you to start writing and begin your writing journey if that's something that calls out to you. If it's something that's your passion. So Ashish is a living example of that. Okay, so Ashish, we are talking about your book, The 5 Day Plan. And first of all, I want to show everyone the cover, which is absolutely gorgeous. The 5 Day Plan. And before I ask you a few questions about the book, I am going to read out one of my favorite bits from the book. Are you ready for that? This is the bit where, they are on their first date, Akhil and Daniel, and it's one of my favorite parts, especially because Akhil is such a clumsy person. He has social anxiety, like most of us do, and the date obviously doesn't go as per his thoughts. It's going well, but then something happens. So I'm going to read out that part. I rack my brain to fill the silence between us. While planning for the evening, I had read blogs on how to act on a first date. Jess and I had even made a list of questions to keep the conversation light and flowing. I try to recall a few, but everything I come up with feels inappropriate to ask. Setting them aside, I go with the one that's easiest for most celebrities to talk about. How do you handle the constant glare of cameras? Dan takes a sip of his beer and replies, yeah, the paparazzi are sometimes freaking annoying. But after a point, you get used to the clicks and flashes. You need to walk a fine line between sharing your life with the public and keeping personal moments safe. What I hate is the constant scrutiny and judgment. What I like is the adoration and love from all over the world. You manage the attention well. I would freak out at all the limelight and media commentary. Dan has finished the baked prawns and scones and eyes my kebabs. I push the plate towards him. Have a bite. Are you sure? I like to share. Not me. He flashes a devious grin before dipping in the kebab in the chutney and devours the whole piece at one go. He crunches for a while. Within seconds, a slow but dramatic transformation takes place. His eyes widen, his nostrils flare, and his face reddens. Then huffs and waves his hand over his mouth. Shit! His eyes water. What happened? Are you allergic to something? Dan shakes his head. Chilly, he croaks, waving a hand over his mouth while he huffs and puffs. Here, I tear a packet onto my palm and offer him the powdered sugar. I am so sorry, Dan manages to say between licking the sugar off my palm, his eyes still watering. So this is just before something of a mishap happens, and I enjoyed this bit because up till this point they are connecting really well, and then things go downhill from here.
Yeah, so this is where at least for the first act, this is the crescendo that has come. This is the height, and then it just falls apart. So that's the build up for that.
Yes. So I have already told everyone that this is one of my favorite reads of 2023, and I have already told you also how much I enjoyed reading the book. Based on that, I have a few questions for you, and I'm sure we would all love to learn from you related to writing and how you go about your writing process. So, my first question to you is that, uh, just a second. So, when you are writing LGBTQ, there's a lot of challenges because you don't know where you can go wrong or you would offend someone. So, how do you go about your research, and what is your process of writing a romance where you could go wrong anywhere?
Okay. So I think one thing that we have to be very careful about. I call it the IRS. I label it as an acronym. I is
Okay.
for intent.
Okay.
Why is this character there in your story?
Hmm.
You need to answer that. So, what is your intention of bringing this character into the story or writing this character? So, that's the first thing, that I intention.
Hmm.
The second is research. Based on your intention, you need to research. You need to find out what this person is and what this person would be like in real life. And then, of course, is the third path, which is sensitivity. Sensitivity in writing the character, the choice
Hmm.
of words,
Hmm.
and then I would also say getting your story or that character read by someone from that background, from the
Okay.
community.
Hmm.
So I call my process the IRS, and I use that for Akhil also. And I have written another book before this, which was published by a US publisher. In that is
Wow.
also LGBT characters. So in that also the same process was adopted. And of course, you have to read a lot, and you have
Hmm.
to. I think the point to start is to start with a lot of empathy and an open mind.
Hmm.
Happens typically is not just for LGBTQ. People we are not very familiar with, uh, we tend to stereotype them. So I
Hmm.
would say, suppose I'm going to write a Bengali character or a Tamil character in the Indian context. Uh, in that case, also, if I don't use the IRS method, I will obviously write something which is very stereotypical of those
Hmm.
uh, people from that background. So it's the same thing with the LGBT. And we have to understand that every person is not just one label, it's a whole person,
Hmm.
that's a human being. So you need to approach it with that perspective.
How wonderfully explained. And I'm definitely using this abbreviation formula that you have given me, IRS. Which is really like it sounds really effective, and the way you have explained it, I think that's the way to approach any character, irrespective of whether we are writing about known or unknown characters, especially for unknown characters, like people with backgrounds we are not familiar with. So thank you for sharing that. Which brings me to my next important question. Because you have written a foreign character, and as Indian authors and somebody who has a lot of Indian people around them, we don't have an exposure to the kind of lifestyle that foreign characters might be used to, or what do they do in their daily lives, what is their culture like, how do they go about doing certain things. So when writing a character like Daniel Keeley, who's a foreign person, how do you deal with that?
So I think again I would say in one way it's the same formula, but
Hmm.
what we do when you're building a
Hmm.
character, what I do is I try to build a character sketch first.
Okay.
What this person is. So in my what I'm not a plotter, I'm a
Hmm.
pantster. So these
Okay.
characters speak to me. These characters appear and these characters speak to me. They tell me what is going to be happening with them. But once I have a few, a storyline or a few scenes in my mind, I sit down and develop this character.
Hmm.
Right from the name, what is their background, what is their family, what do they do, what are their characteristics.
Hmm.
And then I go and see and try to find people from that background. And I think we are living in an age where social media is one of the best research tools for a writer.
True.
We practically put all our lives on the social media.
Hmm.
So you just need to find someone who is similar to your character
Hmm.
and just try to see what is happening with their lives. And you can also read about people from different backgrounds. You can read about towns, you can read about cities, uh, and then of course once you have done that, when you get into the beta reading stage, or once your first draft is ready or second draft is ready, it's always good to reach out to people from those locations or from those cultural background. So forget about a foreign character. If I am going to be my latest work in progress has a Rajasthani character. uh,
Okay.
I'm not from Rajasthan. I'm not from Rajasthan. So I
Hmm.
did my research. I wrote the character, and then I reached out to a few people who I know who are from Rajasthan and asked them to vet that character. Uh, Especially where I use the slang, where I use specific cultural context for that character. Not just to not to offend
Hmm.
anyone, but to make that character genuine.
Oh
Someone
yeah,
who
more authentic. Yeah.
would realize, okay, this person is from my background.
Hmm.
So that way, that's how I approach characterization.
Wow. Okay. So that's another interesting way of approaching a character that you might not be familiar with. Thank you for sharing those tips. And again, I'm going to reiterate how much I enjoyed reading the book, and definitely the kind of research and the methods that you have shared with us. They show in the work because the book has turned out really well. So whatever you have done, it's working, and definitely we can use those methods in our own writing as well. So thank you for sharing those. Now, I leave the floor to you. You have also read my book. Would you like to share your experience of reading my book?
Yes, sure. Because I believe, I read a lot of romance, first of all. As a romance writer, I read a lot. And what caught me, in this book was right from the first scene, where you introduce the character, and immediately you come to know this character is a very bubbly, cheerful person. And for quite a bit of the initial first or second act, I would say, your character is that young, full of life person. And then you see the transformation that happens in the second part of that novel. I don't want to give spoilers, but there is a real transformation where this character matures into a very strong person. And I also like that bit where how you have shown the time lapse in the storyline with the date and year, with festivals, with events that are in real time that have happened in our lives. So this novel is set in the last 6 years timeline. So people can correlate. Any person who reads it, even if they don't read the date at the start of the chapter, they will know, where this thing is happening. And then you go into the future also, things that have not happened yet. So that I liked a lot. And I think one of the fun part of your writing was all the Bollywood context and all the songs and the quotations that you gave in front of every chapter. So that was really,
Thank you.
really, really very good. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for doing such a good story.
I'm so happy that you talked about the timelines in the story because my one intention was definitely to make the story relatable and people could associate those dates with what happened in their lives also. One reason was that. But the major reason I used those timelines is to show the character growth. Like from where the two characters began and where they end up towards the end of the story. That's also another thing that I wanted to show. That between this 10-15 years that lapse between in the story, how much they have grown. So that those are the two main reasons I use that. So I'm really glad that came across well for you. And before I let you ask the questions, I'm going to read out from my book as well because you
Yeah,
won't be able to read it.
I hope you read the part where you introduce the character, because that is something that really catches, your attention immediately. Uh,
Okay. So we'll start with the introduction chapter where we meet Gayatri for the first time, the female lead in my story, protagonist. That's who we were talking about so much, and we meet her for the first time in this chapter. So here it goes. Ja, Simran, ja, जी ले अपनी जिंदगी. The girl spoke louder than the actor who uttered the dialogues on screen. Her voice carried so much emotion that one would think it was her own life story being portrayed in the movie. She was bouncing in her seat and cheered for the female actor who began chasing the train which was slowly moving away from the platform. Come on, Simran, run faster. Yes, girl, you can do this. Her enthusiasm made those around her look at her either in amusement or irritation. As soon as the actress was able to board the train and be in the arms of her beloved, she jumped out of her seat and then she whistled 3 times. She whistled, clapped, and cheered on, blowing kisses toward the on screen couple as they set off together into the sunset. The end credits of the film rolled in alongside a song from the movie. Most of the crowd had begun to disperse and move out of the cinema hall, but the girl was looking at the screen with wide, unblinking eyes. Gayu, it's over now. Let's move. Another girl, who seemed to be her companion for the movie, tugged at her arms and made to drag her. No, no, Simi, please wait. This is my favorite bit. The screen showed a scene of a mustard field where the female protagonist comes running. Quick, go to the other end of the hall. Be my Raj for today, Simran. Guy, you seriously, do we really have to do this? Wasn't coming to watch an almost 2 decade old movie to a shady theater like this enough? The girl merely folded her arms over her chest in response, while the off screen Simran fumed. So, what follows after this is where she does something, and we also see the male protagonist, Varun, who is watching her antics from in the sidelines, and that's how the two characters see each other. I mean, at least the male protagonist sees the female protagonist for the first time.
Yeah, but I think the characterization, if you see these first few paragraphs, is where you immediately realize that this character is a very cheerful character. One,
Yeah,
secondly, she is a movie buff, and thirdly, she's very dramatic. So, and this theme, this character traits carry over into the later parts, into the first and second act also. As this character moves, we move deeper into the, story. So lovely writing and portrayal of the character and the
thank you so much.
characteristics. That's really good. So I really wanted to ask you a question because I've seen a lot of your books are romance novels and all. So where do you find the inspiration for these stories? One, of course, I know you are a movie buff, obviously looking at your writing. But where else do you find inspiration for your um, books?
So I would say it's a mix of more than one thing. Firstly, of course, as you said, I am a movie buff, and I do watch a lot of television, movies, and shows where you are exposed to various kind of stories. One story might inspire you to think of another idea, so I keep my mind open while while consuming the content that I enjoy also. And another thing that inspires me is life experiences, and also the stories of people around me. I get inspired by those also. Like, there's so much possibility in your own life experiences and the life experiences of people around you that anything can spark an idea in your mind. So that also works as inspiration. And there are also a lot of communities and bloggers that I'm connected to, whose content I read, who read my content, and they motivate me to keep writing. And that also helps me to get inspired by newer ideas and work on newer ideas. So it's a combination of these three factors: my own content consumption, the people around me, and my life experiences.
That's great. So basically, people around you should be a little careful what they say or do because they may inspire a character in your stories.
Yes,
So that's
yes,
good
definitely.
to know.
Yes.
One thing, I think as a fellow writer, you also are a writer. I also write. Writing and publishing is a very, very, I would say, a lonely journey.
Yes.
Hours of spending, writing, and then there's a lot of rejection. There is a lot of, I would say, when you put your work out, there's a lot of opinions that are shared.
Hmm.
So obviously, you need to have some sort of support or fallback system for yourself. So what is your support system as a writer, and how do you manage this journey?
I would say I have built a lot of support related to my writing and my content creation online. And I have a few people who I know, they will give me an honest opinion on what I'm doing or what I'm writing or whatever content that I'm creating. So I rely a lot on these people. I I try to shut out the kind of comments that might be hateful. You need to learn how to differentiate between the uh, commentary on your work which might help you become better, and the commentary which is kind of hateful or coming out of a place where they don't know the kind of work that you do. It might be out of jealousy, it might be out of hate, or it might be because they are not somebody who likes that kind of content that you create. So I have formed a circle in my online community where I know that these people will tell me where I'm going wrong, or these people will continue to push me, and they will tell me that if somebody is criticizing my work or saying something hateful about it, they will tell me whether they are true, whether what that person is saying true, and whether I need to imbibe that particular thing in my writing, or whether I should ignore it and focus on my positives, which I'm already doing. So this online community includes a bunch of people who are readers, writers, and bloggers. These are the three communities I rely on a lot, and I know that they will be honest with me to a certain extent. So I focus on what they are saying rather than those people who might, be saying things which are untrue.
I think this is a very good, learning for any person who is wanting to begin this journey. First is to know that this is going to be a lonely journey, and with a lot of, you would need a lot of heart and courage as a
Yeah,
writer, as an author, and to build yourself, build a safety net for yourself, like you said, your they may, and this safety net may be someone from your family, from your friends, or online even now, because we are connected to a lot more people online. And also to filter what you said, to filter between what you need to imbibe and what you need to throw out.
yeah,
you know s- Things that are, like you mentioned, that things that are going to help you in your writing journey, those are the things that you can keep, and
yeah,
that you should keep. And it should not be that every criticism should hurt you, but you should see it from an angle that, will this help me grow? So that is a very important, I think, point that you brought out. And of course, to leave out the things that will not help you grow. So
yeah.
that is also very important. Thanks for sharing that, and it's lovely to hear that from you.
Yeah, and as you said, this is a lonely profession. So while we are creating the content, we know that we have to do it alone, but it doesn't necessarily have to be lonely when we are putting the content out. We need to have those trustworthy people, that circle who will tell us that we are going on the right path or we are going on the wrong path. So that's very important. And that's where the loneliness ends, You don't have to do everything yourself.
Yes. So I think you brought out a good point, being connected to other fellow writers and authors. There are various groups that you can join, and you can find fellow travelers, I call them, in this journey of
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah, that's the appropriate word. Fellow travelers, right? They are with us in this journey, so that really helps. Okay, so I think that brings us to the end of the serious questions we had for each other. Now we go to the favorite part, my favorite part of the episode, which is the rapid fire round. Let's begin with you. Would you like to start?
Okay, since you write romance and you are a Bollywood buff, so what is your favorite Hindi rom-com movie?
Oh, there's not one. There are so many. But I have a bunch of movies from the early 2000s and towards the late 2000s in between, where Imran Khan and Ranbir Kapoor were doing a lot of rom-coms. And of course, there's Shah Rukh Khan, Yash Raj movies that we can we can completely rely on those. There's DDLJ and Dil To Pagal Hai is there. Then there were movies by where Ranbir Kapoor and Imran Khan were starring. I especially liked the ones where Imran Khan was there, like I Hate Love Stories, and there was one where with Kareena Kapoor. Uh, Ek Main Aur Ek Tu. I like that one also really very much, because one reason I particularly like that movie is because it has an unconventional ending, and I like movies which steer away from such, happily ever afters. So that was one particular movie that I really liked.
Okay, great, great. Your turn.
Yes, my first question to you is one character flaw or a trait in a fictional character which irks you. Like, we have had enough of this. I can't stand this.
I think, as far as character flaw is concerned, because I'm a romance reader and a writer, I would say anything where there is cheating in the relationship,
Hmm.
especially on the romantic
Hmm.
That is something that I that will put me off reading that book, or make me hate that character, or not finish that book or story. That is something I don't like to read.
Okay. Oh yeah. Hmm. Okay. That's interesting to know. Your turn again.
Okay. So now we have a lot of technology, we have a lot of softwares where we can use. How do you write? Where do you write? Are you still a paper and pen writer, or earlier we used to have typewriters? Now we don't have
Hmm.
those. Said we have now computers. So where do you write, and do you use the software or something to
Yeah.
pen down?
Yeah, I often say this, and I'm going to keep reiterating it, that I'm lucky to be born in an age where we have so much technology, because I am not a paper and pen person at all. I only write in using a pen and paper when I have to make my to-do list, or when I have to make some list or do my journaling. If any kind of professional writing is there, I do it on my laptop or on my phone or on my tab. I Because I have horrible handwriting. I know that if I write somewhere with pen and paper, and if I have to go back to it sometime in the future, I will not be able to decode it myself. मुझे खुद का handwriting नहीं समझ में नहीं आएगा, and I'll be like, what the hell have I written? What was I thinking? So yeah, I definitely put it somewhere digitally, and Word docs. Yeah, definitely. Microsoft Word is my go-to software, and if I am working with somebody else together, then I would go to Google Docs, because that's the best way to connect with somebody when you're working on something together. So when I start
Shared.
involving my beta readers, or when I start involving my editors, that always goes on Google Docs. Otherwise, Word document.
So what happens when there is a sudden spark of an idea, a line that comes to your mind, where perhaps you're doing something else. Most you as a writer and an author, most inspiration comes either when you're in bed, or you're getting out of getting into bed, or getting into a shower. So you have to rush and note that down. So what happens
Oh,
then?
no,
Do you go
I am
for a
hardly
pen?
ever without my phone or my tab. I listen to music when I'm in the shower also. So if an idea hits, I keep repeating it to myself till the shower gets done. And as soon as I'm out, I open my tab and I make a note of it. And if something like that is not happening, I always have my phone around me, on me or somewhere near me, where I can grab it, just do something like this, and it's in my hand immediately. So I make a note of it right away on my phone or my tab. Of course, I can't have my laptop with me everywhere. So my phone and my tab are where I put down most of my ideas as soon as they come to me. We have a question. What do you think of having a protagonist who is completely irredeemable, like a murderer or a war criminal?
Uh, Irredeemable characters, especially if you're writing a thriller or a murder mystery. Uh, I don't mind having that character, but there should be some
Hmm.
background. Why are
Hmm.
they
Like,
irredeemable? What has
yes.
happened to them? What has happened to them that they have been pushed to such extremes of the dark side that there is nothing that can help them come out, or maybe even take a step back from where they are.
Hmm.
So at least that tussle should be there in that character. If that
Hmm.
is there, then I don't mind. I don't dislike that character. I would
Yeah, I
still consider that.
think characters with troubled past, we can somehow uh, empathize with them even if they are doing horrible things, because something has happened to them that makes them this way. So sometimes we still tend to have a soft spot for them.
Yeah.
Okay. I am going to go to my next question because it was my turn now. A fictional character you most relate to.
A cartoon character, I would say. Winnie the Pooh is my
Oh
favorite bear,
wow.
I would say, and my character. I really loved reading it. Then the animation series came out, so that's my favorite character, all time character, favorite character.
Wonderful. Yeah, yeah. He's a cutie, and of course, the philosophies they have on that show. It's just mind-boggling how a cartoon character can be so insightful. Right? Okay, your turn again.
Okay. So, as a writer, what comes first to you? Does the character comes first to you, or do you write a plot and then build your character? So, essentially, are you a plotter or are you a pantser?
That depends on the kind of writing that I'm doing. For long form fiction, I'm a definite plotter. I go chapter wise. In fact, even in the chapter wise, I have like scene wise summaries also. कि इसके बाद ये होगा, ये होगा, ये होगा. So that's the kind of uh, minuscule plotting that goes into my long form fiction writing. But if I'm writing a short story or if I'm writing poetry, I'm definitely a prankster in that. I let the characters talk to me. I let the emotions talk to me. While writing poetry, I let the emotions talk to me. And while writing short fiction, I let the characters talk to me.
That's this is where we are diametrically opposite, because I cannot plot. If I start plotting, the entire fun in my writing goes out. So what I do
Okay.
is I let the scenes come. I let the characters speak to me, and then once I have at least a broad sense of what is going to happen in these characters' lives, then I sit down and then I realign and see whether the timeline is coming correct, whether the sequence of events is coming correct.
Wow. Oh, oh. I've
So
never
it's a
tried
little
it, but
chaotic.
that sounds like fun too. I
It's
don't know if I'll
it's
be able to do it.
Yeah, it's a little chaotic to write, but that's how my mind works. So
Interesting.
if I put too much
Yeah.
formula into it, too much system into the writing, then the fun goes out for me.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, we are definitely completely opposite in this. Okay. My next question to you is one of my favorites to ask anyone who likes to read. So, Hogwarts, Narnia, Asgard, Middle Earth, Neverland, Wakanda, or Westeros, any of the fictional worlds which you would like to visit and why?
I think from this list, I would say Narnia is definitely a thing. Just to meet the lion in that this because I love that concept of it's a fierce animal, and fierce animal is shown to be so gentle and so wise in this entire thing. So I would choose Narnia in that case in your list of.
Apart from these options that I have given you, is there any other universe which you would like to visit? Fictional.
I'm a fan of Star Wars and Star Trek, so definitely some space universe, I would say. Any of those.
We have Shreyan here who's saying he would go to Middle Earth. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, yeah, that's a very, very
Lord
interesting
of the Rings.
fictional world as well. Because he lives in Madhya Pradesh. Oh, interesting. Okay, your turn.
Okay, so let's see. So writing is of course one hobby and that you have passionately pursued. What other hobby do you have apart from writing? When you get stuck with writing, or your mind is not working in writing, what regenerates you? What else do you do?
So if I'm at home and I'm not writing, I'm either reading or watching TV. Of course, from the other regular routines like cooking and everything. And if I'm at home, if I'm not with my laptop, I am either watching TV or reading a book on my tab. So these are the two main hobbies: watching TV and reading. And if I'm not at home, I could be doing anything. I could be out shopping. I could be out traveling on a vacation. So, or trying out food. I'm also a foodie, so I like trying different cuisines and different dishes at different outlets and cafes and restaurants. So yeah,
Good.
either of
That
these
that
things: reading, watching
obviously
TV, or traveling.
watching TV would include a lot of Bollywood movies.
Not necessarily. Now, with the advent of OTT, we are also exposed to so much global content. So it could be anything. I'm also watching a lot of uh, different global languages shows also. So yeah, but definitely Bollywood tops the list. Hindi movies.
Okay, great.
Okay. My next question to you is, since you have written LGBTQ books, I want to ask you for recommending a good LGBT movie, show, or uh, a book or a series, anything.
Okay, so I would recommend two types of books. One is a memoir, so Straight to Normal,
Okay.
My Life as a Gay Man by Sharif Ranginekar. That is something that if anybody is wanting to explore what LGBTQ life is like, that like a memoir and an autobiography. So that gives you a lot of perspective of growing up and facing a lot of prejudice and the challenges in the life. And on the fun side, I would say, as a romance writer, as a romance reader, I think Heartstopper is one uh, very popular series. It's a book actually first, series of books. Now it's a series also. And the other is Red, White, and Royal Blue. Again, a book
Hmm.
first, and now a movie. So
Okay.
those are uh, if you are the fun kind and you don't want to delve into a lot of serious matter, then definitely these two are something that are latest and you could watch.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for those recommendations. Over to you now, and I think that's the last question you have for me.
Yes, so let's take you on a journey where you don't have TV first,
Hmm.
and you are going alone, and you are asked only allowed to take one thing to keep you busy. What would you take?
Oh my God. I think I would take my another hobby that I have started pursuing is coloring. So I would take my coloring books and of course the coloring pens also with it.
Oh, great, great.
I
So,
would have
I want
otherwise
to
said
ask
my iPad, but since you are only allowing one thing, if I take my iPad and it runs out of battery, I don't know what I would do. So I will take the color books instead.
that's a good choice. You could find inspiration in nature also where you go.
Hmm.
So, coloring and coloring books, that's good. Do you
Yes.
still do you do art also? Do you draw and paint or
Yeah.
stuff?
I don't draw or paint, but I have recently started doing mandala art where I'm doing coloring of the mandala art and it's very relaxing. It de-stressing, I
Yes.
would say.
It takes your
And
mind off everything,
yeah,
concentrate and
definitely.
good, good,
So,
good. Okay.
okay. Now coming to my last question for you. Something that you feel that most authors get wrong.
Well, that's a tough one. I don't know if I can answer it very simply. See, what I feel, what I've seen is, there is no one road to writing and authorship and
Hmm.
publication. Uh, there's a huge variety of ways you can do it. So to say that somebody else is wrong in the way they are doing it and I am right or somebody else is right, I don't usually get into that tussle. I believe that what works for you, what gives you joy, because writing is a hobby, writing is a joy. If the joy and the fun for you is going to be taken out from that process,
Hmm.
then what's the point of doing it? So if
True.
what works for you, the path that you take, as long as you're not hurting anyone,
Hmm.
not causing harm to anyone, what works for you, you choose that path. If you like to use Oxford comma, you'll use Oxford comma. There are people who would accept the Oxford comma. There would be people who would not accept the Oxford comma.
Hmm.
So, to have extremes of opinions as far as writing is concerned, I don't think so. There is no wrong path or wrong way to do it. as long as you're not hurting anyone.
Wonderfully explained and so well put. I mean, yes, there are few things that irk you, but you can't necessarily say they are wrong in doing that. So well put. Thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, so that brings us to the end. Unspoken Fables is saying Red, White, and Royal Blue is one of my favorite movies. Okay, so definitely I have to catch that movie because now not only you, but they are also saying that I should watch it. So yeah, maybe I'll read the book. I don't know. Let's see what uh, pulls me more. Anyway, Ashish, thank you for joining me. And once again, I want to reiterate that I absolutely enjoyed reading your book, and I am hoping to catch up on the other books that you have written because I loved your writing and enjoyed it. So I'm sure the other books are equally good. So I'm hoping that I can do that sometime soon.
Definitely. And just this, I would like to, you have read because you have read the 5 day plan. Um, and many people who read the 5 day plan, they asked me about Elliot,
Hmm.
uh, Dan's brother. So just to tell you that my next book could be Elliot's story.
Oh wow. Wow. Oh, that's really exciting. Wow. I would really love to read about it because he was such a relatable character again because we all have such interfering siblings, right? Who are like, oh, what are you doing? Why are you not doing this?
Definitely.
So definitely, I would love to read Elliot's story also. And congratulations and all the best for that. When can we expect that book to come out if you're already working on that?
Yeah, it's in the beta reading stage. So I would say another 4, 5, 6 months
Okay.
possible.
Okay, exciting. So 2024.
Yeah, within 2024, that's the target. But let's see how the journey goes.
Okay. So all the best to you for that. I'm really looking forward to it, and hopefully once it comes out, we can do this again and chat again about two different books.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. Thank
Once
you for
again,
having me.
thank you for joining me, Ashish. Have a great weekend, and everyone who has joined us, thank you. The video will be available on my Instagram feed and my YouTube channel. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye.